The following is a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio. Keep your mission on your mind and your mind on your mission. This is Mission Minded with Michael Coleman.
Welcome back to Mission Minded. Keep your mind, your mission, your mind. I saw your little lips moving. You were going to move your lips just like Mission Minded, weren't you? You were going to fill the words in for me, weren't you? Michael Coleman, he's the CEO of Heart of Alabama Food Bank. I'm Tony Kurre. We do the show every single week. Of course, we also do a show called Bite by Bite, which we're going to do right after the show, that specifically talks about the Heart of Alabama Food Bank and Feeding America. This show more of a business show. A couple things struck me today for the show, and you texted me, said, do you have an idea? And I do. 5 years ago, or roughly 5 years ago today, is when I decided to go into business for myself. And at that point, I really didn't have a plan, didn't have a mission. I knew kind of what I wanted to do. But my biggest thing was, okay, I don't have a job. My 401k is only going to last me a certain amount of time. I need to figure out a way to make money. How can I do that? So I took all my pros and my cons and started doing things. I thought, can I make this work until I know what the hell I'm doing? Basically what I thought. And here I am 5 years later. We know, according to Simplify LLC, which supplies information to small businesses, basically half of all businesses make it to about year 5. And then obviously every year after that, it goes down a little bit more, which I thought was more than what I normally, always thought was like 7 and 10 businesses don't make it past year 3.
Last data I saw was 80%, but I don't know specifically what the distinction is between those numbers.
Yeah. So,
but it's not tons of success.
No, it's not. And so a couple interesting things. I saw some stories. Drew Davis, 14-year-old kid with cerebral palsy, 3 years ago, was asked to come up with a business idea in school. 2 nights before the idea was to be presented to his class, he hadn't even started on the program. He's a very self-deprecating kid and doesn't take his disability very, very stoutly. It is what it is. He's like, and so I like to make fun of it when I can. It's my way of dealing with it. And so he came out with the idea of crippling hot sauce, which was a hot sauce. He was a big hot sauce guy, and obviously the word crippling. So he turns it into his teacher, and he gets a B- on it. And then he thought to himself, I should show this teacher exactly how this business plan would work. Well, next thing you know, he goes out, Googles some type of hot sauce recipe, makes it, adds a few things, makes his own, fills up 500 bottles in his mom's garage, and sells out in 35 minutes to friends and neighbors. Now, friends and neighbors, obviously, that's a very, very important part of growing any business. And I believe that. I don't think you can start a business without it. And so then he's thinking, okay, and I think this happens for a lot of businesses. I think you get a lot of friends and family and go, holy mackerel, I just started this bunt cake thing, and I made it for some phone calls, and I sold 50 of them. Obviously, I could do this for a living. I could make millions of dollars, right?
Right.
Well, in this particular case, he sold 500,000 bottles of this stuff in 2023 for a net of about $3 million a year. So the kid's doing pretty well, right?
Yeah.
Now, in some cases, man, things just are presented to you. It's a God thing. I don't know where he got his distribution. I don't know if he went store to store, but he did do a couple of videos online. Obviously, he's got cerebral palsy. People are rooting for this kid. It went viral. And as soon as it went viral, that was the end of it. All right. And there's a lot of people that can do that online. They're just very likable individuals. They've got a good carry, and you can go.
It's the whole proverbial lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, it really is. And pun intended here. And then I saw just yesterday, Alabama, which routinely touts its pro-business policies, right-to-work laws, and more, has appeared on a surprising list. And normally Alabama is on the bottom of every list. We appear 6th in the most expensive state in which to start a business. Simplify LLC, which I just mentioned, supplies information to small businesses, did the rankings made by examining basic business costs, labor costs, and availability costs, space, utilities, health, business environments, and taxes. According to Simplify, the number of new business applications nationally has increased almost by 60% over the last 5 years. A lot of that had to do with COVID because everyone was working from home and they thought, we can do this. I don't have to work for the man anymore. when compared to the previous 5. Alabama sits at 6th in the list because of its high LLC filing, which is about a couple $100, low labor force participation, which is currently at 57.6%, relatively high corporate income tax rate of 6.5%, low SBA lending rate. Plus side, Alabama ranked 17th in annual average wages, with roughly $60,000 in 2023, 11 for the cost of average rent per square foot for commercial real estate. It also ranked 22nd for utility costs and an average commercial electricity bill of about $634 a year. First of all, does that surprise you that Alabama would rank that high? And by the way, Utah was the least expensive state. California by far was the most expensive state, if you're just wondering. It seemed like most states in the Midwest to the West were the ones that were the least expensive. New York was number 2, Hawaii number 3, Tennessee was number 4, Massachusetts number 5, Alabama 6th, the New Jersey, District of Columbia, Illinois, and West Virginia round out the top 10. Least expensive, Utah, South Dakota, Colorado, Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, Nebraska, Kansas, Nevada, and North Dakota. First of all, does that surprise you a little bit?
Yeah, it really does. I mean, I think Alabama has been able to attract major manufacturers to this area. Major industry, car industry, shipbuilding, plane building, all that kind. Montgomery's got Amazon. Amazon's all over the state of Alabama. We've got Meta building here in Montgomery, building a huge data center, just on and on and on. So you think of us as super business friendly, and that's usually because when they relocate, we give huge tax breaks for several years, and we're very business friendly. But it's a different game when where just the average Joe Smo steps up and goes, yeah, I want to start my business. And the amount of capital that you need, depending on the business, of course. So you look at what you did doing podcast, it requires a lot of equipment. You want to make sure it's got to sound professional, just all that. So it's a heavy upfront investment versus, let's say, I'm going to start a business detailing cars.
Yeah.
Where it's just a lot of sweat equity that's involved, and I just need some rags and running water and that kind of stuff. So it all depends on the business. And the truth of the matter is, some people, the state of Alabama doesn't benefit incredibly by individuals stepping up and starting businesses. A lot of people do businesses, especially cash businesses. State doesn't end up seeing a lot of that money. Yeah. So they kind of get you up front with the business license and those kind of things. I know that when I had the boutique with my wife, and we had a home base, but then we would go out around Christmas and we'd sit up at shows, try to get our name out and those kind of things. And I'm telling you, everywhere you went, you would have to detail like the amount of sales you have while you were at the show. And then you had to go in there and pay sales tax. I mean, Alabama was rigorous on that kind of stuff and tracking all of that. So yeah, they try to squeeze a lot of sales tax and everything. They don't want to leave any dime on the table. Yeah. But I will tell you that some businesses, like I said, like yours, you have a special skill. And so when you said, I want to go into business for myself, it's like, okay, well, what can Tony do? Well, Tony's known, you know what you do. Your radio, you got the voice, and so it was just a matter of how do I navigate the modern landscape with the skill set that I have and the cost of, you could have expert people who build houses out of cards, but how do you monetize that? Yeah. And so then you have something like this kid who has, hey, I'm going to do something simple. I'm just going to make something. And then I can even use, because I the ability to laugh at himself and use this name, and boom, lightning in a bottle. Everybody wants to support him. They like the fact, hey, you've got this crippling disease, but hey, you're going to become an entrepreneur. We're going to support you. And boom, now you've got a potential millionaire. So it's one of the great things about our country. I've said it many times, I think even on this show, that one of the special things about our country is you don't have to wait for somebody to give you a job. If you have any skill and any determination, you can go out there with your own drive, your own view, your own ideas, whatever, and boom, you go monetize what you can do and make a living. And people do it all the time. Now, is it hard to sustain it? I mean, you had to. I mean, I've been there with you through a lot of this, where you were grinding through.
I'm here because of people like you too.
Well, just how do I go to the next level? And because it's like the whole podcast world. I mean, it's totally changed. Where the Joe Rogans of the world. I mean, you just go back to the last election and you see people like Joe Rogan and the amount of influence they had. That the whole election. I don't want to say the whole election turned on that, but Joe Rogan was a Bernie Sanders supporter, and he offers both candidates, and Trump comes on, no restrictions, and talks 3 hours. He stopped. I'll stay as long as you want to. Yeah. Answered every question, didn't, very directly. And Kamala was like, well, y'all come here to Washington. You get 1 hour. I want to know the questions in advance, all that kind of stuff. And he goes, no, I'm not doing that. But he's probably the most influential podcaster out there right now.
No doubt.
So, I mean, I just said all that to say part of having a skill set is knowing how to navigate where you are in the times right now, because that landscape is constantly changing. So the skill set that you have right now wouldn't have worked 20 years ago outside of a radio station giving you a job and providing you the equipment. What you did was not even a format. What you do now was not even a real format back then. So sometimes your talents and societal needs or societal desires and just everything comes together perfectly, and boom, you hit it. And then other times you have like a great skill and you've been grinding at it and growing it, but the growth's just been slower than, it's not overnight boom, you're a millionaire. I don't think you're a millionaire right now, are you? maybe you've been holding out.
My ex thinks so.
Yeah.
No.
I was wondering if you were a closet millionaire and you were just hiding it from me.
No, yeah, I'm still driving a piece of crap car. I just don't want to let people know. I don't want people to know who I really am.
No, but Alabama, going back to your original question, Alabama, it is surprising that Alabama is not more friendly, because they're so friendly. They rank in the top 3 in a lot of other statistics, like in terms of attracting business, because the benefits they offer, the low tax rate, all that kind of stuff. It's just the man starting his own business can't get those same kind of benefits.
Yeah, I was too proud and thought I could do it on my own. And man, I had to get slapped down so many times down to my knees, to the point where I just started, including yourself. I had a lot of late phone calls with you. I remember talking to you in several instances. A lot of times I was venting, but I was really looking for advice, because I knew you were a businessman, a business owner, and I know you'd done successful non-for-profits your entire life. And I cannot stress this enough, that you just got to keep asking questions. You got to keep asking questions. Put yourself around people that know more about what you're trying to do than yourself. Go to a small business owner, or go to a guy who owns a sneaky pizza and ask him how they do it. A lot of times, we talk this virility, this viral sensation that is something that, again, we didn't have 20 years ago. I can't imagine starting a business without it now. I mean, you really can't. I mean, I cannot imagine starting a business without the internet. I know there's a TikTok commercial right now that comes on that says basically 6 million business owners around the country, count on TikTok for their money. And without TikTok, they would not have a business, because they do the woman working on cars or whatever. And so I kind of wanted to go with that route today. And the other part of it is the one question I was asked a lot about was, is your idea something new in landscape changing, or is it something that's already pretty prevalent and you just think you could do better than everyone else? And it was a little bit of both. And obviously we like to come up with ideas that no one's done before. And that's also another thing in the works. And that I'm part of something like that too. But when you get this kid, there's a million hot sauces outside. I mean, trillions of them, thousands of them. So if you're a businessman, or you're going into an investor and you're asking someone, hey, listen, I need $50,000, $100,000 to get this bottling operation, blah, 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 blah. And you just say, listen, Now, in this particular case, let's be honest. If he didn't have cerebral palsy, I don't know if it would be selling bottles of hot sauce. I'm going to say no.
Yeah.
I don't know. He could have been just that diamond in the rough at a 14-year-old and just nailed it. But even his teacher,
but it's doubtful without that connection. Because it's the neat story. It's the hook that gets you. The very thing because I've started nonprofit from scratch. A lot of people are looking at nonprofits, get referred to me, and I sit down with them. And I've told time after time after time, when they say they want to do something in the nonprofit space, I always ask, number one, is there a need? So if somebody's already doing it and doing it well, the question is, in the nonprofit space versus for-profit, it's still, is there a market for it? In the nonprofit space, is there a societal need? Because if you're not filling a need in the nonprofit space and you're not doing it well, you're not going to get people to support you financially. Okay. Because they're going to say, wait a minute, these people are already doing that and they're kind of covering that territory. The people who came to me said, hey, I'm doing something and there's 20 other people in town doing it. And I go, okay, well, that doesn't automatically disqualify you, but it's very important to realize, because now what you're up against is you're not the only game in town that's addressing this issue. So what people are going to then do is compare you to what everybody else is doing. So I kind of play a devil's advocate. One lady in particular was asking me about this mentorship program. And I said, okay, I'm going to pretend to be a donor and I want you to pitch it to me. And I'm just going to be real with you. So she starts pitching it with me and I stop her and I say, okay, let me ask you a question. There's 20 other organizations in this town doing mentorship. Now you're going to be the 21st person. All right. Now the question is, and you can make the argument that yes, there's enough need among urban youth and otherwise that you need that many mentorship programs. However, the question is, why would I give to a brand new startup nonprofit who's never done this before versus giving it to established nonprofits who are already doing a good job? Why would I not give money to help them do it to a greater degree rather than risk this unknown quantity? And she really couldn't answer that question other than the fact she just wanted to start a nonprofit. She just believed in mentoring and she just felt like she was do it. And I said, look, and ultimately she didn't do it because I kind of talked her out of it. And my goal was not to talk her out of it. My goal was to give her a dose of reality of what she's going to face so she doesn't pour thousands and thousands of dollars and go through all this effort to start a nonprofit only to find that the public is not really on board. The public themselves are not, asking for this. When I started my nonprofit, nobody else had number one, we were faith-based, but number two, nobody else was taking people, especially from generational poverty and had tons of barriers to employment. Nobody was kind of taking them where they were and guiding them. And we had a 9-week process where every day we were teaching, coaching them, helping them overcome. There was no other program like that. So we were unique. We were the only ones standing on that ground to meet that need. So the same question is true if you're starting a for-profit. You can say, look, I'm the best sandwich maker in the world. And you go, okay, so now you got to go out there, but you've got 1,000 sub sandwiches. You've got every fast food place makes a sandwich. The bottom line is, how do you get people's attention? How do you get people in the door? How do you get customers back? All those kind of things. And it's such an uphill climb. Now, this kid with the bottles was able to jump to the head of the line.
Sure was, yeah.
That was the hook. The hook was, hey, I have cerebral palsy. I'm 14, and I got this hot sauce called Crippling. Boom! Everybody's like, oh yeah, I want to support him because he's not letting his disability keep him down. So he just jumped ahead of all the other hot sauces. And people say, well, I'm going to take a chance on it because I want to support him. I don't really care what the hot sauce tastes like.
Yeah.
But then they get it in. They're like, hey, this is good hot sauce. So now, hey, I'm going to reorder. Now I'm going to buy from him. So he's already got. Now, if he did not have a good product, that would obviously fade, or there wouldn't be word of mouth who said, look, this is why I ordered. But so you had to have that good product, but it was definitely the hook. So there's so many variables, and it's such a complex thing. Think about it. You could have a formula that works one year, and the next year the public is totally shifted public perception. Let me give you just a quick example. Let's say that I want to be a DEI consultant. All right.
Yeah.
And we talked about DEI. So let's say I got all my certifications in DEI, and 3 years ago, people are calling me left and right to do DEI consulting. Every university, every business has a DEI program, on and on and on and on. Now, all the universities are shutting down their DEI programs. Major companies are shutting down. The market is flooded with people who could do DEI training if you still wanted to go that route. But what's changed? The market is now flooded. There's no demand. It's just evaporated. And you've got all these people that are credentialed, but can't go out on their own if that's their only. But because there's not enough demand for everybody to go out. So lots of times you might have a talent, you might have a gift, you might can utilize it, but given the ebb and the flow of public opinion and supply demand, all those kind of factors, market forces, there's so many factors that go into determining, whether you're going to be successful or not. I'll give you the real estate one. Right now, we have there's so much unused commercial buildings because people are working from home. Now, I just read this morning that in Washington, D.C., the traffic's starting to pick back up.
Yeah.
People have to come back to the office.
Yeah.
They got to go back to work. That's right. Well, but a lot of people are not, they're just getting rid, they're still selling those commercial buildings. So again, you could be in a hot market like DC and go through and they're like, well, we're cutting the workforce. We're cutting the Department of Agriculture by 10,000 workers. We're cutting this. Well, guess what? That's all space that you don't need to maintain all that. So it may be tough to be a commercial realtor because who's going to come in and fill those spaces? So again, timing is really, really important depending on what you want to go in, what you want to touch, who you want to impact, how you want to grow your business.
When you start, he's Michael Coleman, the CEO of the Heart of Alabama Food Bank. We do a business show called Mission Minded every week. Bite by Bites coming up here next on our network of radio stations. And of course, you can also check us out wherever you get your favorite podcast. We're available in every major industry out there. It's a great show. Go back and listen to all of our archived and information. There's even tags and stuff on there too, so you know exactly what you're going to be getting in each particular show. When you start a business, we all want to make a lot of money. Okay. Obviously, when you get older, like myself, money doesn't mean as much. It means something different. It doesn't mean buying boats and everything else. It just matters about putting food on the table and just being comfortable enough for the rest of your life and maybe leaving something for the kids. It's just a totally different thing. You'll understand when you turn 60. Yeah. When you start a business, we all want to make $1 million, but what kind of lesson can we learn by teaching ourselves what to really expect as a business owner? And what I mean by that is, should you sit down and say, okay, there's 3 different things that are going to happen here. Number 1, I make it big. Number 2, I'm making just enough, I'm in the black, but barely. Or number 3, I'm bludgeoning money and I'm bleeding money, and I got to figure out how to keep this business open after you make your initial investment. Do you go through scenarios like that in your mind, or do you jump in and go and then you just kind of learn as you go? Because I think a lot of people think, I get this great idea and I'm going to sell it and it's going to make millions of dollars. This kid, is a millionaire by the age of 16. Yeah. That's a great story, but it don't happen. Someone's going to win the lottery, but it's never going to be you. And I'm not a poo-pooer. I'm not telling you not to take your shots, but I think a lot of people don't realize how much business people really love what they do. I talk about this friend of mine who owns a Sneaky Pete's. Every time I go into Sneaky Pete's once a week, he's working his ass off with his wife. She's making the hot dogs and she's back there and he's back there doing it. And I'm like, don't you guys ever take any time off? And he's like, I think I took 3 days off last year. And I was like, man, I'm sorry. He's like, no, I love it. I love what I do. Yeah. He loves making hot dogs. Yeah. He loves running Sneaky Pete's. He loves coming to work every day and running a business. And he's just blessed to have a business that he can live off of. It ain't about having all kinds of nice cars and stuff. It really isn't. Yeah. What a beautiful story.
Well, I think the whole idea of thinking that you're going to start a mom and pop business and be a millionaire is a fool's goal, because the reality is those are so few and far between, those lightning in the bottles like happened with this young guy. Most of the people want to go to work and, entrepreneur. I've seen people who call themselves entrepreneur, and what they mean is they don't want to have to punch a clock and they don't want to have to answer to anybody. Well, those people are not going to be successful in a business, because you're going to be working way more hours for yourself than you will if you want a successful business. I mean, it's going to be 80, it's going to be 90, it's going to be 100. It's going to be, nose to the grindstone, because not only are you trying to make a living for yourself, but you likely going to have employees that you have to pay as well. So I think most people, when they get into a business, it's there because they're passionate about an idea. They know they have a skill, whatever it is, and they're trying to monetize that and make a living off of it. And most people, I think, over the first year, is like, hey, I want to get into this. I want to evaluate it and ask myself, can I make a living at this? And if they can, okay, now I'm going to, I can pay my bills. I like it, or whatever. And some people get into it and they realize, hey, I can't. There's not, I thought there was enough demand. It's just simply not enough demand. Or there's not enough demand where they are, and maybe they can't successfully navigate how to run their business over the internet or things like that to have a bigger reach. But I think most people are content if you can pay the bills, put away some for the future, support your local charities, your church, make a difference in people's lives. Most people, I think, find happiness and contentment in that, and that's what they want out of a business. If they can't make it work, then obviously those conditions drive them to look for other solutions. The truth of the matter is, it takes a lot. You have to have a lot of skill, more than just the talent. I'm reminded of a friend of mine who had a great idea for using AI and how to build platforms and all that. But he was such a geek that whenever he talked about it, he never could get to the point of putting it together to talk to investors about it, to build a pitch deck for investors, or a pitch deck as to how people who wanted to buy the software, how they could use it. Because all he kept doing was talking about the AI, and he would get so geeked out, and he'd just be all over the place till everybody just said, all right, good luck with it, man. It's yours, because I'm out. Yeah. And of course, it never went anywhere. So again, a million factors related to whether people can do that. I really admire people who are risk takers, who step out there and say, it's not going to be easy. I'm going to have to make sacrifices. But I believe in myself. I believe in the value of what I'm bringing to the market. I get it's a big learning curve, but hey, I'm stepping out there and trusting God to provide, and I'm going to keep my nose to the grindstone. And when you do, you can build empires like the Tony Curre Network.
Yeah, and it's getting better every single day with great partnerships and clients like Heart of Alabama Food Bank and Michael Coleman. I will say this, and you started the show off, and I'll bookend it with this. We do live in a wonderful country where you can make it any way you want to make it. You and I have had breakfast, and there's so much money in this country. And we're seeing it with Doge right now. There's so much wasted money. There's so much money that just goes, almost half of almost every dollar it goes seems like it's just being wasted on something. And so if you do have an idea and this guy started this kid's 14-year-old started with $3,000. He had $3,000 in his savings. And he took every dime of it. And his dad said, okay, go for it. Do it. And he started business with $3,000. I think a lot of people always believe that you have to have money to make money. And it's just not true. Does it help? Sure. But if you're really truthful and faithful to yourself, you're willing to put the hours in. You may fail a few times, but eventually you're going to find your niche, and you more than likely will make a living out of it. You may have to work, for the man, some 40-hour jobs until you get on your feet on your own. But if that's what you want to do, then
or you may have to work a job and work your passion, at night, the weekends, till you get it going. I've just seen people with incredible determination and just something within them that they're so driven that they can't be stopped. And it's I just love seeing people succeed.
This is Mission Minded.
This has been a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.